Hello, welcome to Module 3. In Module 3, we are going to talk about the second cluster, student, also referred to as youth skills. I'm Lori Chestnut, and I will be your presenter to talk about the predictors in Cluster 2, youth skills. The first one is community experiences, self-determination and self-advocacy, goal setting, social skills, travel skills, and technology skills. What these all have in common is that they are all direct services or activities that youth can participate in, that youth can receive instruction in to improve their likelihood of success when they leave us. The first one is community experiences. And as I mentioned in the introduction, each predictor has an operational definition, and that is the definition that we use so that we all are on the same page. We all know what we're talking about. So the definition that we are going to use for community experiences is activities occurring outside of the school setting, supported with in-class instruction where students apply academic, social, and general work behaviors or skills. And basically what that means is they are activities in the community setting. So it might be in a store, it might be in an office, possibly a restaurant. It provides the opportunity to practice the skills that they learned in their classrooms. So when we look at how do we know that by letting our students participate in community experiences, how do we know that that's going to increase their likelihood of success? So using these program characteristics will increase the chances of this predictor being an effective practice. So one thing that you need to look at is you need to make sure that you have sufficient resources to support meaningful community-based experiences. So we're not talking about just a field trip. We're talking about meaningful community-based experiences where our students have opportunities to practice those work skills. It's important that while students are in these work experiences that we conduct ecological assessments to determine the skills that they need for various community environment. And that's just a fancy word, and I'm probably mispronouncing it, but it just means that we want to collect data on the skills. So let's say that a student was in a grocery store and they were helping stock the shelves. So we might have a task analysis that has the steps of what they need to do. So we just want to observe them and collect data so we can really see how they're doing in that skill. Do we need to reteach? It also might have to do with communication. So we want to just collect data while they're in those environments. We need to provide instruction on the skills needed to safely access community environments. I know as an educator, safety is always our top priority. We want to make sure before we go into the community that we've worked on the instructions, that our students are going to be able to safely participate. We need to conduct transition assessments with students and families to determine appropriate community environments for current and future activities. Use community-based instruction to teach, assess, and monitor the attainment of desired academic and functional skills. And as I mentioned earlier, we just want to make sure that we are observing and documenting our students' attainment of desired behaviors and skills across those many different environments. So if we do those things, that is going to be an effective practice that will impact outcomes. All right. We also need to consider that do our students need instruction in the use of public transportation? If public transportation is available, if public transportation is not available in your area, are there any other types of transportation that we can help our students learn about? We need to be sure that we are providing supervision during community experiences to guide and direct students in the development of appropriate behaviors and skills needed for the specific environment. So our expectations in the public library are going to be different if we are maybe outside in a park picking up litter or performing a different task. We want to make sure we're involving parents and adult service providers to support student involvement in community experiences, cooperate with community partners such as employers, recreation facilities, to develop community experience sites. A great partner for that are our Department of Rehabilitation Services, counselors, and field representatives. Provide supports for parents to arrange community experiences after hours. Train teachers and paraprofessionals in the necessary safety, health policies, and liability coverage necessary for students to participate in community experiences. So those are some of the program characteristics that effective community experience programs include. All right, the next predictor we're going to talk about is self-determination and self-advocacy. This is defined as the ability to make choices, solve problems, set goals, evaluate options, take initiative to reach your goals, and accept the consequences of one's actions. That just means that our students need to be able to have their own voice. They need to be able to make choices, set goals, and take action to reach them. Self-advocacy is speaking up for your needs and rights while taking responsibility for your choices and doing it in a respectful way. These program characteristics include using a student-driven IEP process, individual education program, that allows students to demonstrate self-awareness, goal setting, problem solving, and self-advocacy. Collaborating with general education teachers to embed choices into the general curriculum and daily lessons and provide opportunities for students to practice self-determination skills. Teaching students to monitor their self-determination skills, their accommodations and their modifications, and provide opportunities for them to practice self-monitoring. An additional characteristic, number 4, is ensure that all students, including those students with significant disabilities, have a functional communication system to help them engage in choice making, problem solving, goal setting, taking initiative to reach their goals, and accepting consequences for their actions. Additional program characteristics include conducting age-appropriate transition assessments that include assessing them on their self-determination skills, providing opportunities for students to develop self-awareness by listening to them and engaging in honest and respectful discussions about their self-determination assessment responses. Providing direct instruction in self-determination using a structured curriculum or evidence-based instructional strategy with guided practice in natural school and community-based settings. A great resource for this is the University of Oklahoma, or OU, Zero Institute. You can visit that site, and there is a lot of free curriculum to help students lead their IEP and increase their self-determination skills. They also have free self-determination assessments that you can access. And then last is foster the development of students' leadership skills. The last two are expect and support students to make many routine choices for themselves through the course of a school day, and work collaboratively with students to facilitate achievement of their goals by informing them of their options and the potential consequences of their choices. Our next predictor is goal setting. Goal setting means developing individual and self-determined short and long-term goals for future adult living based on personal preferences and choice to the greatest extent possible. And it includes specific measures to assess attainment and achievement over time. So dream big, set goals, and take action. This just means that it's important that our students start setting short-term goals and then moving on to long-term goals for their adult life based on their choices and their interest. And we want to make sure that we are tracking the progress of those short-term goals and long-term goals if possible. The program characteristics for goal setting include using a variety of individualized formal and informal assessments to help students identify choices, preferences, future goals, and how to make a plan to meet their goal. Provide training and resources to students and families to empower them in goal attainment. Have students set goals related to future employment, education, and independent living, and include short-term objectives during their annual transition planning activities. So in Oklahoma, if students participate in the Oklahoma Alternate Assessment Program, they must have short-term goals and objectives. We want to make sure that we are teaching, monitoring, and assessing students' goal-setting competencies. What does this look like? This looks like understanding benefits and defining aligned goals, stating preferences and accommodation needs, participating in planning and tracking progress, and revising goals as needed and celebrating achievements. We want to make sure we're using a variety of strategies, embedded instruction, backwards planning, and we want to make sure that we're teaching our students to develop SMART goals, as well as short and long-term goal setting. We want to provide opportunities for our students to develop self-determination skills and gain knowledge of their preferences, their needs, their strengths, and values, and support students and their family to develop a vision, write a goal, find the desired outcome, outline the action steps and supports needed to achieve the goal, and use the steps in interagency plans to support the students' goals. One thing I should mention about these characteristics is that when you are working to improve your program or you are developing a program, you're not going to have all of these program characteristics all at once. So we have to set some goals and prioritize the program characteristics that you may already have in place and look at which ones you want to work on in your school building or your school district. Next, we are going to talk about the predictor of social skills. Social skills is defined as behavior and attitudes that facilitate communication and cooperation. This includes social problem solving, body language, speaking, listening, responding, those social conventions. How close do you stand to someone? Do we shake hands? Do we hug? All of those things. And it includes verbal and written communication. This just means that the ability to communicate and work well with others, including speaking, listening, understanding social cues, and solving problems in social situations. The program characteristics include making sure that you are teaching social skills across different settings, including the general education setting, the special education setting, and in the community. Using direct instruction, having a curriculum, a specific curriculum to teach communication, interpersonal, conversational, negotiation, conflict, and group skills in context for students that need it. Providing opportunities to practice communication and interpersonal and conversational skills. So just giving them opportunities to practice in a safe environment. Assisting students to use problem-solving skills when difficult interpersonal situations arise in context. And providing parents and school staff information and training in supporting age-appropriate social skill development for their child, taking into consideration the family's cultural standards. Using augmentative communication and assistive technology devices to encourage communication for students who use them. Using those situational assessments to identify the social skills students will be expected to perform in each environment that they may visit. Provide opportunities for students to practice social skills in a way where it's an authentic social interaction and that fosters the development of friendships. We want to teach our students to self-evaluate their use of social skills in the appropriate context. And also teach students the social expectations for various environments. So if we are, going to the local recreation center, we would talk about what that's going to look like. If we are going to visit the Capitol and participate in People with Disabilities Awareness Day or another event at the Capitol, we would teach them those social expectations. It's different in different settings. The next predictor is travel skills. Travel skills simply means that the confidence and skills students need to travel safely and independently throughout their community using various modes of transportation. That's pretty much it. This is a scary one because that, letting them travel independently is difficult for sometimes our parents to be able to kind of let go and let them experience it. So we want to make sure that we are actually teaching them those skills that they will need to travel independently. Communication continues to be a barrier, and we have to kind of think outside the box about what types of communication may be available in our area. Program characteristics of travel skills again, we're going to conduct assessment of what is available in their community and how are they able to access this transportation, including their preferred mode of travel. We want to let students explore and use multiple modes of transportation. Maybe it's walking, maybe it's riding a bike, maybe it's ride sharing, maybe it's paying a neighbor or a friend with gas to help us get to where we need to go to. We will provide individualized instruction and guidance in whatever types of travel instruction and guidance that they may need. And then again, helping them, putting them in those situations with community-based instruction for them to learn the social and interpersonal skills needed to manage all aspects of travel. Technology skills. The capacity to use appropriate and functional technology in a way to accomplish goals or have access to information and social interactions. That just simply means that we're going to use technology to help us connect with others and find out information. And most of us do that on a daily basis. So the program characteristics for technology include provide students with access to current platforms, programs, software, and hardware that are reasonably available. Google is one that comes to mind. That seems to be one that many of our school districts utilize. Develop a plan to gather feedback from students and families about the effectiveness of technology training and gaps in support or staff skill sets. We want to conduct technology assessments. This is a new one. We don't always think about that when we are administering transition assessments, but actually, in order to improve students' technology skills, we would need to assess where are they with that. Do they have an email? Can they access their email? Can they send an email? Can they use a cell phone to make a call, to make an appointment, or to call a friend? We want to provide materials that support technology instruction in varying contexts. So that might be things like classroom, community, possibly a job site, a college campus, or home. Provide instruction in digital citizenship. This is so important. We have all this technology and we have access to all of these social media sites, and it's a lot. It's a lot for our young people to handle. So it's really important that if they're going to have access to technology, that they get instruction in digital citizenship. And what that just means is that they receive instruction on how to safely use technology. What is the etiquette of some of the social media, that they are making sure that they are following any laws and that they are exhibiting ethical behavior. They need to learn to protect their passwords and their identity and be aware of any scams and what that looks like. How will they know that this isn't real? And also teach them to use accessibility, like if they need text to speech or they need to make the print larger or whatever it might be. We want them to be familiar with any accessibility features. Provide instruction and programmatic design that promotes daily use of available technology, including adaptive technology if they need it. Provide professional development to ensure that staff can deliver effective and relevant instruction to support students' use of technology, right? We can't teach it if we're struggling ourselves with Google Classroom. and provide opportunities for students to use technology aligned with post-school goals. That might include finding information, making purchases, scheduling activities. Okay, so that concludes the predictors that we are going to talk about. Let's talk about some examples. So out of all of those predictors, here are a couple of examples. So one example is with the predictor of self-determination. So in this example, a district actually has a class for self-advocacy, self-determination as an elective class, and the special educator provides direct instruction to high school youth in self-determination using a specific curriculum. Another example is a collaborative team works with partner agencies to create community sites where youth can practice skills and behaviors in real world settings. Can you name the predictor that this example is talking about? If you said community experiences, you're right. The next example is using a mobility trainer to teach transportation skills. What is this predictor? Travel skills. A Department of Rehabilitation Services counselor shares information about pre-employment transition services, pre-ETS, with teachers and conducts informational sessions for staff to address questions and provide guidance. And finally, a school collaborates with families to teach, assess, model, and provide practice for self-care and independent living skills at home. That concludes all of the predictors in Cluster 2, Youth or Student Skills. See you next time.